In het Zuidoost-Aziatische land Maleisië is men druk bezig met de vorming van een nieuwe regering na de verkiezingen van woensdag 9 mei jongstleden. Bij die verkiezingen is de regerende Barisan Nasional Coalitie na 61 jaar uit het machtscentrum in Maleisië verwijderd. De regeringscoalitie verloor 1/3 van de zetels in het parlement. De 92-jarige arts Mahathir Mohamed is afgelopen donderdag na 15 jaar opnieuw beëdigd als minister-president van Maleisië.
The veteran politician Mahathir Mohamed is meeting the king today because he's discussing forming a new government. He is 92 years old and he led the opposition parties which took victory in the general election. That means the first transfer of power in Malaysia since independence some 61 years ago. Well, his opponent, Najib Razak, has conceded defeat. Our Southeast Asia correspondent Jonathan Head is in Kuala Lumpur for us. First of all, 92, that is some age to take over leadership of your country. Quite a comeback.
It is an extraordinary comeback when you think this man dominated not just Malaysia but this region with his towering personality in the 1980s and 90s. He retired in 2003. He was already an old man then. I have to say, watching him on the campaign trail, he's got the energy of somebody half his age, and his press conference today after a pretty sleepless night, his wit was as sharp as it ever has been. There were questions, though, about how this would proceed. Remember, as you say, this has never happened before. Malaysia's never had a transfer of power. Constitutionally, the procedure is pretty obvious. The constitutional monarch, that's one of whoever of Malaysia's 9 kings takes the rotating position as king of the whole country, is supposed simply to swear him in much the same way it happens in Britain. But there have been delays. Dr. Mahathir got quite frustrated earlier today because it hadn't happened. We now believe that appointment is for about 2.5 hours' time, and he's already gone to the palace. So we think everything's in place now, and it seems to be just because of the unprecedented nature of this power transfer that things have gone rather slowly.
What change is he likely to bring into the leadership of Malaysia, and do you think that he will stay for the entire course?
Well, he won't stay for the entire course because he's repeated again today the promise that he made when he joined the opposition, that he would step aside after 2 years, within 2 years, and make way for his old nemesis, Anwar Ibrahim, who is the opposition leader who's now in jail. Now, he was first jailed by Mahathir Mohamed himself back in the 1990s when he was his designated successor, and fell out with him, and they've been bitter rivals, but they've made up. Some say it's just a coalition of convenience, but he's repeated time and again, this is my agreement. I will take over merely to smooth over the transition, but within 2 years I'll get a pardon for Anwar Ibrahim, and he will then be able, assuming he gets elected as an MP, to take over. So there is a plan there, and Dr. Mahathir's plan is to step aside. Now, the opposition has quite a comprehensive plan. The outgoing government accused them of being economically reckless. They are going to cancel a very unpopular sales tax, but of course that will leave a hole in the government's revenues. But there are so many other issues that Malaysians want to address, not just the cost of living, but also, of course, crucially, investigations into corruption by outgoing Prime Minister Najib Razak, and that is something that Dr. Mahathir stressed today will happen.
Many Malaysians are celebrating a historic election. For the first time in 60 years, the opposition won over the coalition that has ruled the country since independence.
What we want to do is to restore the rule of law.
The winner is a 92-year-old former prime minister who had campaigned against large-scale corruption. To be clear, we're talking about the 1MDB corruption scandal, allegedly one of the largest global financial scams of all time. And this is what makes this election so important. The Prime Minister of Malaysia, Najib Razak, has been accused of misappropriating hundreds of millions of dollars from 1MDB, a state development fund he created himself, officially to help Malaysia's economy. The money was funneled through a complex web of shell companies and used in the US to buy real estate, luxury hotels, artwork, and even to produce the movie The Wolf of Wall Street.
Was all this legal? Absolutely not. Oh my God.
These allegations are made by the FBI, the US Department of Justice, and investigators in several other countries like Singapore and Switzerland. 1MDB and Najib repeatedly denied wrongdoing, and he clung on to power after the 1MDB scandal surfaced in 2015. He went to great lengths to keep his job. That included purging political rivals, cracking down on civil freedoms, and arresting a long list of critics, be they activist, artist, or MP. But that wasn't enough to contain popular discontent with the Prime Minister and his government. This time, Malaysians voted en masse against him. In some cases, they even lined up for hours to cast their ballot.
I accept the verdict of the people.
Now that Najib has lost his influence, many are calling for a new investigation into 1MDB and Najib's alleged wrongdoings, which again he denies. But 1MDB and its multi-billion-dollar hole is not Malaysia's only challenge. The country is still deeply divided, with the looming risk of tensions between the ethnic Malay majority and the Chinese and Indian minorities. Mahathir Mohamed, the new leader, has a mixed track record. As a prime minister, he drove Malaysia's economic boom in the 80s and 90s, but he's also accused of fostering cronyism and muzzling political rivals. He denies. Ironically, Mahathir says he will hand power to Anwar Ibrahim, a charismatic politician who is still in prison. Mahathir himself first got him arrested on dubious charges years ago. After 6 decades of political stability, Malaysia is heading into uncharted territory.
He's like the godfather.
He will do whatever it takes to get what he wants.
Still alive.
He's quite a paternal figure in Malaysia. So we do see him sort of like a grandfather figure.
I guess the age doesn't matter too much. I'm just more worried about his track record when he was the Prime Minister. He's authoritarian.
He dismantled the judiciary system.
Arrested numerous dissidents.
Things have been gradually getting worse, and it really is time for change, and for a lot of us from the younger generation, we want our voice to be heard.
So now is the time for something different. We don't know, it might be bad, it might be good, but most importantly, it will be different.
Didn't manage to rally people who would normally not vote for the opposition coalition to the cause.
He's aware that he's old, he's aware that he's been through a lot, and there's very little personal agenda, I feel, like, that he has to prove.
I think his squad, in the sense that his team, is very, very young and is very, very vibrant.
But obviously, change won't be immediate. It's gonna take time, but this is the first step toward that direction.
I hope for a modern new Malaysia, a Malaysia that works on merit, that is truly united, a Malaysia that can be all it could and should have been, a Malaysia that we the people, the rakyat, deserve. So that's my hope.
Is willing to pardon Datuk Sri Anwar immediately. We intend to build up Malaysia's economy with the help of investors from inside and outside the country. We believe that we can get most of the 1MDB money back. We also intend to abolish laws which are oppressive and unfair.